Okay, hello, and thank you very much for following all the activities of the cognitive group and seeing and sharing each of them. Today is a special day for us. We begin a new adventure. So let me give you a little ride from the history of the group. During these 5 years in the group inception, we have worked hard to bring scientific events, workshops, meetings, and activity to all you all with the only aim of sharing knowledge and talking about science. In this new journey that we are beginning, we will have interviews, live broadcasts, and new podcasts each week, activities with researchers, national and foreigners. They will share their experiences and knowledge with us. For me, it's an honor for me that this first interview is with Dr. Christine, a person that I greatly admire and a great friend for me. And I'm extremely happy to open this series of interviews. So let me introduce our guest with a brief overview of her career. Dr. Christine Joseph is an associate professor in the College of Education and Social Services at Saint Leo University in Florida. She earned her PhD from the University of South Florida in curriculum and instruction with a specialization in childhood education, literacy students, and a cognate in elementary mathematics education. Her research interests include disciplinary literacy with a focus on academic vocabulary and mathematics instruction. She had numerous publication, conference, presentation, global work, and professional development. And she also worked with pre-service and in-service teachers. Christine, hello. It's a pleasure to see you again. The last time that we were together was when you gave a talk on the Department of Psychology last year, and so many things have changed in these times. How are you?
Yes, I'm doing well. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm just honored at this opportunity. Thank you again, Alfonso. I'm really looking forward to conducting this interview and providing the field with some knowledge, some assistance in this time of challenge.
Thank you very much, Christine. And let me start with this thinking, and you can present us all your ideas. Let me start with this idea. We are going through a very complicated and complex moment all worldwide. Schools have moved their face-to-face activities to online education. So different platforms and tools have emerged, but we were not prepared for something of this magnitude. So how is the US doing with this pandemic of COVID-19? How is impacted education, and particularly for students in basic education or preschool? And how can we counter effects of this pandemic through this technology gap that we are facing? So what can we do? What can we be doing in this situation?
Well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to share my screen now, and by working with some of the K-12 teachers and teachers in higher ed, I'd just like to kind of focus on a few areas that I found to be a common theme or pattern with challenges. And then I'd also like to address some of the benefits. So would it be okay for me to share my screen now?
Yeah, for sure. It's already habilitated there.
Okay, great. So in talking with some of the teachers here locally, so just to kind of go back a bit, our institution is very accustomed to teaching online. We have an online program specifically for higher education. So we felt very comfortable when this pandemic hit. For those of us that were teaching online, we felt comfortable because of all of the training that we had had. It was teachers that had to transition from on-ground instruction to online instruction that had a little bit of that challenge, that shift in paradigm, that thinking. And so there was a lot of support going back and forth, really building our community and what that looks like for online instruction. So we were really trying to support others through that time and geared more towards a focus of student engagement. How do we engage our students? Because we know when we're on ground, it's fairly easy to engage our students, but when you're online, it's a completely different platform. And so a lot of times just reading the body language and walking around and monitoring for instruction, asking questions, looking at student work that wasn't possible through that online platform as well as it is in the classroom. So my focus is going to be more towards addressing those issues with K-12 learners, our early learners, and some of those issues came from some research that we had been conducted. And and through that research and through those findings, we were able to actually address some of those challenges in higher ed through some of these platforms. So it was a nice segue into providing some of those interventions that we needed as far as engagement. So some of the challenges that I found when speaking with a few of my in-service teachers, that they had difficulty in monitoring for understanding their students when they were online. So it was tough for them to understand where students were making errors, where some of the misconceptions were. Those just-in-time interventions that are so easy to do when you're teaching in a classroom face-to-face were difficult for teachers because students are solving problems and teachers aren't able to actually see what they're doing just in time to remediate. So students were able to show their work, of course, and the teacher is able to actually capture some of the thinking. But when you're speaking with students in real time as they're solving, there's that just in time intervention that can happen that really addresses those misconceptions. So that was a little bit of a challenge. That third bullet point, difficulty in teaching, i.e. presenting information. Teachers had a bit of a difficult time in just learning some of the technology required to present information. So many were proficient in PowerPoint, but there were so many other tools. So teachers started to actually explore some of these tools and use them in their classrooms, and it really started to help some of those presentation challenges. And then, of course, parental support when students are presented with concepts and parents are actually to support students after the instruction. Parents had a little bit of a difficult time, especially in mathematics, not so much in reading and literacy, but the mathematics seemed to be a challenge for some of those teachers. And so also, after talking with some of my in-service teachers, they started to build their confidence with online instruction. They really started to feel, and I could see them changing as well, some of their academic vocabulary that they were using to speak with me, some of their teams in Zoom and forming breakout groups instead of small groups. So they were starting to use that language, and I could tell that they were growing. One of my close friend teachers stated that she really feels like this technology that the students are acquiring and that the teachers are acquiring should continue, even if we are to go face-to-face, that her instruction is going to shift just a bit so that they can continue to have more of these electronic, more of these interventions where students are creating presentations virtually and working with Word documents, working with PowerPoint, working in teams, having breakout groups, almost that flipped classroom. So they were really interested in that, which was exciting to hear. They're becoming very resourceful. They're able to access online games and activities. They're communicating with parents in a different way through different applications such as Teams, emails, things like that. So it's starting to shift as far as those electronic modes of communication compared to that parental meeting where they're in the classroom or in the school. So that's helping the ease of meeting with parents. I think that support to be a little more proficient as far as meeting with parents, talking with parents, going through this online instruction, kind of scaffolding parents through. I think that's been a great benefit. Teachers and parents are really bonding and coming together. So that's a great benefit. And then I mentioned the flipped classroom, and then that student acquisition of technology. Students are becoming more proficient. Some teachers were having a difficult time of students logging on and being sure they're logging on in time. So that's something that they're going to have to remedy a bit. I'm not sure how that will look. I'm sure it'll be different from district to district, but just being sure having students accountable for logging on is going to be something that is a bit of a challenge that they're going to need to troubleshoot through. So, so those were some of the challenges, and those are some of the benefits, which are great. So with our challenges, we have some great benefits. These challenges, when I looked at some of the challenges that teachers were experiencing, I thought about higher education, and it seemed to be very similar. So, and most of it, in looking at some of the challenges, aligned to formatively assessing. So formative assessment, we know that formative assessment is a key part within instruction. And I'm gearing this more towards mathematics because my research is in mathematics, and I'm speaking a lot with mathematics teachers and instructors. So the NCTM, our National Council of Teachers of Mathematics in the United States, quotes that formative assessment produces greater increases in student achievement and is less expensive than other efforts to boost achievement, because you're giving that just-in-time intervention. So formatively assessing students is a key part in instruction, and we find that the more we formatively assess, the more we're able to intervene, and students' misconceptions are addressed in real time. So we don't have that lag in understanding, those misconceptions that keep spiraling, and we know that can happen in mathematics. And so some of the interventions for the challenges was that whiteboard feature in Zoom. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, the whiteboard feature in Zoom. But the whiteboard feature in Zoom has been very helpful for teachers and students, especially in those breakout rooms where students are in breakout rooms and they're demonstrating their understanding in Zoom through those whiteboard features. But then there's also the whiteboard application where students can actually solve their problems and upload their solution processes. So it's actually recorded, and then the teacher at his or her leisure can access those recordings and really begin to assess student understanding and come up with themes and patterns as far as misconceptions and areas to enrich. So we found that the whiteboard application is a great complement to this online instruction. And the whiteboard application, there are many free whiteboard applications, but we decided to use the Show Me because it was what we used in our research for student solution processes. So I'm just going to take you here right now to my Show Me. And you'll see here that I have many students, student 1, student 2, student 3, S1, S2, S3. And as I scroll through, you see all of their demonstrations. So what this is good for is if there's a story problem or a word problem, the student can solve the problem, upload their solution process as it's recorded, and the teacher can play those back and build his or her groups, her small group or his small group intervention groups, be able to understand which students need that one-on-one instruction, and also just kind of glean an insight into the student understanding, if they're understanding the concepts well, and if not, where are the areas of intervention. You know, we've done quite a bit of this with journaling, so students using like a notebook to keep their solution processes. But what's interesting is this recording feature. So the feature that actually captures their thinking in this whiteboard application has just been, I guess I would say, paramount in our understanding of what we need to do as far as our next steps in instruction. It's just, it's been such a great complement to just capture that thinking. So I'm going to play one of our students. It's a quick one, but then I'm going to actually show you some of the Show Me demonstrations and how wonderful this application has been for online instruction and formative assessment.
5 bags and put 5 marbles. I put 5 in the bag.
So when I first heard this recording, I thought, oh, 5 bags, put 5 marbles. I put 5 in a bag. I thought for sure there's just 5 marbles in one bag. So the student was actually demonstrating multiplication. And I thought, okay, I'm interested to see what comes next, because right now, looking at the language, the linguistics, it doesn't look like their solution process is going to actually map out that concept of multiplication. So I thought there's going to be 1 5 possibly, but there's 5 bags. So I thought, okay, let's listen on and see what happens.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25.
And then I saw, okay, they're actually demonstrating their understanding through those five bags, I guess, that they, there we go, those 5 bags. So now I know the student is able to count by 5s and also able to multiply and show the multiplication process. And then they actually begin by the multiplication equation. And so that's just a quick showcase snapshot of Show Me with multiplication. We did find many other student scenarios to look through where we were able to build our groups. So with this continued online instruction, if we are face-to-face, we're still going to continue to use the Show Me application. We just feel that it's so beneficial. But we also feel like this would be a great complement to online instruction. And I'll show you what that looks like as far as being able to assess student understanding. So student 1, we had the students circle all the triangles. How do you know these are triangles? And so the student actually circled these 2 triangles and said, this is a triangle, this is a triangle, this one is not a triangle, because it's upside down. So even though this difficulty is bird 6 images and equations, that was part of our research difficulty with the other problems, but you would expect the student to circle all the pictures because they're all triangles regardless of their rotation. And so now we know the intervention is the instruction of the properties of triangles to intervene. So that was good to know. We also found, I'm going to move our faces here a bit so I can talk through this one. We also found that some students, when we had a subtraction problem, that some students had some difficulty with subtraction. So this student wrote a story problem where the reader has to subtract to solve the problem. So she actually wrote this story problem, and then we looked at her solution process. So the story problem was great, but the solution process, she actually has 20 flowers here, which is great. But then her subtraction is off, and her subtraction and with regrouping was off. So we thought, this is very interesting. So we figured that the student would solve mental math, making a 10 strategy. You would expect the following. The difficulty was with bundling. We feel like if the student could bundle 1, 2, 3, 4, slice 5, do that bundling strategy, or subtract with regrouping, that they would have much success. So our intervention, we thought, would be bundling and subtraction with regrouping, and then working on those mental math strategies by making a 10. So it seems like that would be very helpful for this student. Then this student, draw a picture of a triangle, and how do you know this is a triangle? So the student drew a picture of a triangle, did very well, but then the student started to count the sides, and he counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We thought, okay, the student doesn't understand sides. So again, the intervention is properties of triangles, and of course working on vocabulary, that academic vocabulary in mathematics connected to sides. And so that's one of the interesting formative pieces that we gleaned. And this one has to do again with the birds and the images. So this was a word problem that we did with a few students, actually 20 students in a classroom. And the word problem reads, draw a picture of 5 birds, make some red and make the rest blue. Write 2 number sentences to tell about the picture. So the student initially had difficulty with birds. So we said, okay, you can draw any shape that you feel. What shape are you familiar with? So they said triangles. So we just assumed the rest of the class would know triangles. So we just changed that. We made that simple edit, and we put draw a picture of 5 triangles for the students that were solving this problem after our student. And this was our first student. So we were able to make those simple changes. But then you'll notice here that there are 6 images, and the student said I used fingers. So It's actually a sentence, but it's not a number sentence. And in second grade, they're actually writing sentences. So we didn't think that that was too far-fetched, but after the instruction of equations and the commutative property, we were a bit surprised that the student couldn't transfer that knowledge into the word problem. So we expected that the students could do one of these following combinations of the commutative property with 5, but they did not. So we thought some interventions would lie within the area of reading comprehension and equations. What does an equation look like, and how do these equations relate to the commutative property of addition? So we found that some of the linguistic structure of the word problem could have hindered student comprehension. And this was another one. So once we said we changed birds to triangles, they actually thought these rectangles were triangles. So now we know that we have to intervene with shapes for this student. And this student also wrote sentences. There is 4 blue triangles, there is 2 red triangles, or sorry, 3, that's a 3 down there, there's 3 red triangles. So again, 7 images, the other one was 6 images. We didn't get 5 images from any of the students. And so it was interesting because that's the first sentence. So we thought reading comprehension would be a good intervention as well, breaking this problem apart, making some small edits within the academic vocabulary would be very helpful. So this is information after playing these recordings back that we were able to see. Students could really use some assistance in this area. We were able to form some of our groups. So this was one of the problems. So the Show Me application helped us to determine that exact points that students' thinking went awry during their solution process. So it actually assisted with one of those challenges of online instruction where we're not able to monitor for understanding, walk around, assess understanding through questions. We could actually capture that through that Show Me application. They were also able to determine when the thinking was on target with the standard, so that was very helpful. And so that provides the instructor or teacher with ways to enrich their instruction. The student work samples helped us to just combine certain groups that needed certain interventions. So one group may need interventions in properties of shapes, while the other one needed interventions in the commutative property equations. And so we were able to just develop some common themes, but then understand that there's some overall classroom instruction that needed to happen, and that there was some further misconceptions that helped us to plan for that instruction that might hinder students if they don't address those misconceptions within those further concepts that they needed to master moving forward in the school year. So we thought this is something that we need to intervene quickly. And so some of the teachers actually started giving these word problems in advance to just understand how they needed to plan their instruction. So giving the student the problem in advance that aligns to that overarching learning objective, retrieving those entries from online, and then planning his or her instruction seemed to be very helpful. So I thought that was another great feature for the Show Me application aligned to this online instruction. And further literacy instruction in the area of vocabulary was easy to identify, and just understanding their recorded explanations, just listening to them use that academic vocabulary or the lack of the vocabulary that you want to hear is important too. So it was just a great way to capture their thinking as that like window of understanding. And students appeared to understand the concept by their communication efforts, and they were able to receive that enrichment. So we were able to push and advance students that really needed. And through these platforms such as Zoom, you can actually fine-tune your breakout rooms in order to meet students' needs. So you can actually do some of that as well to align with your instruction and really detail your breakout groups to meet some of their needs as far as these themes that you're observing. And then some of the learning benefits, student can communicate verbally in their processes in real time, which is great. Students who have difficulty writing can benefit from drawing and explain using the recording device. So that's very helpful for a lot of our English language learners. because a lot of their spoken vocabulary is a little bit better than their written vocabulary, so they're able to articulate better with the recording option. They can be creative and draw. There's lots of drawing. Students love the coloring feature, and I'm going to show that to you in just a minute. And the student use of technology was a good way to meet those different modalities of learning. So students are actually able to advance their learning in technology, and teachers as well too, through using this platform. This recorded response is saved for parents and others to view. So that's an additional benefit too. So teachers and parents can talk through as they play the recording in real time. They're able to actually talk to some of those misconceptions or those areas that require enrichment. And students are motivated to journal through technology. They really like hearing their voices. They love playing back, that playback feature, and drawing to demonstrate their understanding. So some of these teaching benefits are teachers can view online at their leisure at any time. They can organize their interventions based on those common themes from student responses, and they can assign those breakout groups to support learning. Teachers can work one-on-one with students while students are working with the interactive whiteboard application. So students and teachers can actually do this in the classroom remotely, calling students, bringing students to certain breakout rooms while the others are actually solving, uploading their work. And teachers understand that different learning modalities are met through the application because that technology piece is very engaging for students, and we know there are different learning modalities. This one attends to listening, speaking, reading, and writing, so it's a perfect complement. Next steps, online and face-to-face. We're going to continue the use of that Show Me application or whiteboard application as a formative measure for planning, instruction, and intervention. So we already have some research in place to implement a tiered framework for students and actually capture some of their thinking through the Show Me application. And this research is scheduled to roll out fall of 2020 with some of our school district here to 4th grade classrooms. So we're really happy about that. And that's basically it, Alfonso. So these are some of the Show Me application screens. It's not just for mathematics. You can use it for, as you see, science here, lots of science connections, but you can use it for literacy as well, social studies, health, etc. So it has been a great benefit for us. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go back to our screen share. Can you see what I'm doing here as far as whiteboard, iPhone? Yes. Okay, so you're familiar with the whiteboard application. So that's a similar application that's very helpful with formative assessment and addressing some of those challenges. But now I'm going to click the iPhone iPad. Have you worked with that capacity, that icon in this capacity?
In the iPad?
Yes.
No, I haven't worked with that yet.
Okay, so I'm going to, so when you click on it, iPhone, iPad via AirPlay, just click on that, and then you take your iPad, and I'm going to get mine right now, so it's sharing, and I'm going to show you how easy it is. And I'm going to show you how easy it is too. So with a swipe of the screen, so I'm not sure if you can see this pretty well, but with a swipe of the screen, you click on mirror screen. And then you click on your computer, what your computer is.
Oh, excellent. Right.
Yes. And now it's going to mirror everything that I'm doing here on the iPad. So this is another great benefit of Show Me. So as I'm on the iPad, it's actually mirroring, and I'm going to create a new Show Me, or just show you some of the features of Show Me. So here are the colors at the top. And so students can start, with a simple problem, and then you click the screen to the next page, and then they can demonstrate what that looks like, drawing groups or drawing pictures. They can actually access pictures here, search images on the web, and actually group pictures to demonstrate their understanding of multiplication, different backgrounds, backdrops. They can actually take a photo to demonstrate their understanding of some outside, Oh, so sorry about that. Connecting to some outdoor real world application, taking pictures of nature, taking pictures of items in the classroom, things like that. So they're able to actually take a photo or choose a photo. And so then the recording feature. So I have my microphone disabled, but theirs wouldn't be. So you could record. And then these are the different screens that students would go through in order to solve their problems or their pictures, their word problems. And then they can always go back. So I had a few students that once they actually completed this whiteboard application, then they went back and recorded. Some recorded in real time as they were solving, and you see a lot of this. So students were, you see a lot of going forward, you know, as they're talking. So it's really good. It teaches them to actually match the text to the picture. And I found that to be an interesting benefit for students too. So once they have a quick demonstration, which they're very quick to pick this Show Me application up, they're able to actually start working with this. And they love the picture feature too. A lot of them will take pictures of themselves at the very end to show that it's their work. So it's just it's a great application. And then once you're done, you can save it or save and upload to Show Me slides. So either one, you could save it as a draft, the student can come back to it, or you save and upload to Show Me slides and it'll actually upload onto your platform. And so the teacher will have it in his or her classroom platform. So very friendly for students to use. So you just click done and then save and upload to Show Me or save as a draft and continue and go back. And so I'm not a Show Me rep, but the whiteboard applications have been wonderful to use for those formative assessment types of challenges that we're experiencing in the classroom for instruction. So I think that'll be very helpful for us in the future moving forward if this is our new way of teaching, you know, or just shifting some of our teaching a bit to have more of a technology integration, more of a flipped classroom. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So hopefully that was helpful for you.
Yes, it was very, very interesting and very helpful. I have a couple of questions though,
Okay.
because it's very interesting. I agree with you. I use this whiteboard application in Zoom, and I used to do some whiteboard applications that are on the web and another free softwares that you can download and put it on your desktop and then share your screen and put your equations or your processes. But I only have a couple of questions about that. For example, in the Show Me application, maybe some people are worried about the privacy, the security privacy for the students' ID or the students' information. How Show Me deals with this kind of security for in order to, I don't know, to prevent some misuse of the information of the students.
Right. So that would be where the teachers create their own classroom in Show Me. So the teacher would have the username and password that would be distributed only to the students and the parents. Of course, receiving some of the online application, gosh, what are they called? It just slipped my mind, but the video permission forms, using the video permission forms and the media permission forms. So students would have to, of course, sign those waivers as well. But then again, it's not a public demonstration. Your Show Me can be private, so it's just you and your students.
Okay, and another question.
Did that help address that question?
Yeah, for sure. It answers the question very much. And these kind of platforms, you can use it for high school students, for university students. I don't know if you heard me. I have a little problem with my connection of internet, but I can repeat the question.
Yes, please. You just broke up just a little bit.
Okay, sorry. If you can use these applications with high school students, with university students.
Yes, yes, I think it would be a great complement to instruction to use. As a matter of fact, there are several show me's. I'm going to share my screen with you quickly, if you don't mind, and just show you some of the different applications that you can find. Not applications, I'm sorry, demonstrations that are available. Hopefully it won't log me in so I can access that. Seems to be taking me right back to my page. Let me see if I can go in. Okay, so that looks like it's through the App Store. Maybe I can just log out. Let's see if that's an option. Of course, with technology, there we go. Okay, so let's see if we can get back to the main screen. Okay, so learn. So when you click on learn and show me, you'll actually see, and we'll just click on mathematics, you'll actually see all of the different show me's that were posted for public display of instruction. So you can access high school math has many different show me applications, videos that were recorded, and this could be student or teacher instruction. And what I found was interesting was the first grade math is aligned to all of our first grade standards. So very interesting show me applications where teachers can actually use to project and showcase in his or her classroom as a part of their instruction to complement their instruction, or create their own and post it on the show me site. So and if you'll notice, many of these are, you know, Algebra 2, AP Calculus, high school and college related content, SAT prep, integers, Common Core math. So you'll find that there are SAT math, several that are aligned to middle, high, and higher ed learners in higher education.
Okay, perfect. And just another quick question. You mentioned early in the beginning of your presentation that some of you are already used to this kind of technology, and you have this online experience giving your lecture and your classes over the internet and using these platforms. But what is for the teachers that are new at this kind of technology? They are going to need to adjust to this new reality. This new reality is just here to stay. Is going to be a phase, or is going to stay here forever, and we need to readjust our structure of learning and teaching online.
So what are my suggestions, my advice?
Yes, for this kind of new reality.
So what really helped me, Alfonso, was engaging in the training and just educating myself in the training. And luckily my institution had quite a bit of those learning tutorials for me to actually work through. I found that some of my best learning happened in collaboration with others, just talking with others, seeing how they're addressing some of the different challenges that I was experiencing. A lot of time those collaborative efforts really helped me to understand what I didn't understand, and really helped me to gain an understanding of what would enhance my instruction so much more, and help me to think creatively so I could kind of add to the their understandings as well, and kind of branch out and you know, add to those experiences, because I was new to this about a year ago. I was brand new to online instruction. I had not taught synchronous instruction in the classroom. It was a shift, a paradigm shift for me as well. And what I found was through those collaborations and just educating myself through video tutorials and experimenting and having, you know, people log on that were close to me to see, how does this look? Does this seem like it's okay with you? And you'd be surprised, but there are so many that are willing to just engage in that that workshop type of work remotely to build their content knowledge too, because I don't think anyone ever wants to admit, I don't know what I'm doing. But, you know, this is so new that it's okay for you to say, I don't know what I'm doing. I really need support. And there's so much support out there on the web. Many of our national, well, I'm not sure what that would look like for Mexico, but many of our councils are actually producing videos to help teachers instruct through that engagement type of platform, because that seems to be what some of those challenges align to, is student engagement. How do I engage my students? Although some of our challenges were, how do we formatively assess and understand how our students are doing? And I would say that just doing some of that self-study and really just forming those groups and engaging in those conversations and experimenting with others, and not allowing yourself permission to make mistakes, and really open it up to these new learning opportunities that we can face, that will just make our instruction stronger. It's almost like building your content knowledge in a specific subject area, but now it's within a different method or methodology. So I think it just makes you a stronger teacher. And there's lots of support out there through universities and through councils and through the web that will help.
And in this line of these things that you are mentioning, and we were talking about this early before the interview, in this new reality, I had the opportunity to attend to webinars with Goldstein, Brooks, Willingham, that it was in some time before that this crisis, it was impossible, or at least economically very complex. So this can help also to the education process, to attend to these webinars with experts, to attend to some virtual lectures about how do you teach online. This kind of webinars can help for this educational process.
Webinars can help. They've been so helpful. I just can't stress how important and how helpful these webinars have been in really taking notes. I do like, I have to say, in thinking about that type of webinar, that type of learning, I do like to have all of my students with their videos on, so I can see their face and see what they're doing. I'll scroll and I'll pan through so that I can watch their face. I can see some of that expression that's really helpful in the art of teaching. When we teach, we look at body language. We address some of those confused stares or the blankness that we may notice. So some of the frustration, some of the shutdown. So it's very important that the video is on. And in the webinars, they've been great just for that self-study, so that we can really master some of this content and really build on some of our understanding, our previous understanding, and build new understanding as well. Sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming to learn so much. And I think actually learning something and then practicing and then adding to that body of knowledge, building on that schema is very helpful. So just to take it in steps, not a cognitive overload.
Yes, I agree with you, but this is a very interesting time in this kind of scenarios. I know there is a lot of uncertainty about this time with this pandemic that we are living with, but also there are great opportunities, as you said, to grow and to look for another kind of tools that we can apply for our classrooms and for our teaching. So it's very, very interesting for us.
It's very interesting for us. And I found that my instruction is so much stronger when I am actually face-to-face, that I'm incorporating a lot of that online, those online groups, students working in online groups in that kind of flipped classroom. And I'm understanding, I guess, from the perspective of a student, what it's like to learn something new. And it's really helping me to just scaffold my instruction into different phases and stages, instead of I know what I'm teaching and you're supposed to know, and I'm assuming you know so much more than you probably do. And it's helping me to take a step back and really reflect on the learning process for adult learners and what that looks like because of my own grappling with the understanding.
I agree with you. I agree. For my class, I've been more organized, trying to put all these elements right here and there, and looking for the correct or the more great opportunity for showing some video or some image or some exercise. I know it's kind of amazing, this kind of tools.
It really is. There's always that silver lining, isn't there, Alfonso? We just have to grab onto it because it is very frustrating when you're learning something new not to have it mastered. And so many of us feel like we've mastered the art of teaching and have added on to our content knowledge by engaging in this creative assignments and projects. And now we're having to take a step back and really just like go from the very bottom level and learn it all. And just, some of those surface level assignments are like, monumental to us. So it's good to be patient with yourself as a learner and to transfer that knowledge into your instruction. I'm so glad you said that.
Yes, thank you very much, Christine. And I would like to close this great interview, which I thank for giving us, with a final reflection, particularly a message for all the people who will see the interview and are looking for the best way to go ahead in this moment and to build resilience in their lives, both in personal and professional matter. So what is the message, a final message for these people?
That's a good one. When I think about giving messages, I think about messages for myself. And, I have to bring this in because I competed in Ironman. And this has just been so helpful for me to reflect on. This is actually the medal that I received, and I finished within the amount of time, and their motto, well, I'm not sure if you can see the distances, but it's a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and then that 26.2 run. So we had to complete this within an 11-hour time frame, and I really think the message is very closely aligned to what the Ironman philosophy is that anything is possible. And I think if you continue to work and you continue to have that drive and that desire to grow, that anything is possible, and to stretch yourself and be patient with yourself and learn from others and be open to all of these amazing opportunities that are only going to stretch you and help you grow to be even more amazing than you are. So that's my message. Anything's possible. I lived.
Excellent, and congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much.
And once again, thank you very much, Christine. It has been a privilege to have you here with us in this interview. I hope you had a good time.
A wonderful time. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I hope I helped.
Yeah, you really help. I think that the people that are going to watch the video is going to learn a lot, and they're going to have your message, and they're going to start looking for these opportunities to grow up and to make of their profession a better thing in this kind of new reality that we are living in.
Yes, we're all in it together. And I think that's good to know. That's comforting to know that we're all in this together.
Yes, thank you very much, Christine.
Thank you so much.
And thank you very much to all of you. Stay tuned to all the events and other activities that we have for you in the COGNiMATH group. We continue working for and by you. Until the next time, and be safe. Thank you very much.